Hey BrewTubers, Barry here. Happy Homebrew Wednesday again. I know it's another late one, but a lot of things happen during the week, and if things happen on Wednesdays, I'm not going to share it with you till at least Thursday or Friday. So, before I shoot you off to some footage of me kegging my pilsner to lager it in the keg in my keezer, I'll give you some more updates and give a little recap on my experiences with the SJ Porr Challenge 2014. And then get to that footage, because I just feel that the SJ Porr Challenge, having just finished in the U.S., is a little more important than just a quick few minutes of me kegging my pilsner. So again, I'll put somewhere in this video, skip to this point in the video if you want to, just see the kegging stuff. So a few things. First of all, I want to congratulate the people who won the top 3 or really 4 in the U.S. So that's Nate Peacock with his Black IPA, which was actually my favorite beer of the finals beer. So awesome that one of my favorite beers made it to the top. Then Rick Magine in second place, also tied with Brad or Puka, whose Red IPA again was one of my top beers that I drank for the finals. And then finally, Tyler Everson, or Everdy Homebrewing, with his pumpkin ale, which is a pretty sessionable pumpkin ale. It was a little deviated from the typical pumpkin ale with the cream ale base, but overall I think everyone praised it because it was so drinkable and the spice character was really balanced. So really happy that beers that I enjoyed and can really vouch for made it to the top. Now I got tied for 6th place, and I'm not really bummed, by not getting in the top 3 or 4, because there were some things that I went wrong on brew day, certain things I could have done differently between brew day and packaging the beer. So to get 6th place out of all the brewers in the US, I'm really happy. And I got some really good high scores, even in the 40s in the finals. So that means that my beer was good and that I don't have to make minor tweaks to make it, top 3 worthy. So, and I feel that some of the flavors that I got actually in Nate's Black IPA, especially with the hop character from the El Dorado hops, are really what I'm going to try to aim for when I brew it again. So, before I get into one more quick thing about my beer, let's just pour a bottle. This is one of the last bottles that I put in my fridge, so it might not be as hoppy, even though it has been in the bottle for like 3.5 months, so it's not going to really be hoppy anyway. So let's just pour it out, and I'll just enjoy it while we talk. So here's my beer. It was my Self-Righteous Wookiee Black Rye IPA. So one of the things that I did wrong was using too much extra dark grains to get the color up to where I thought it should be. So I have here in the July and August issue of Zymergy, which if you're a member of the AHA, you should get it. And it has in its article of like the top 100 beers in America and top breweries. It has a clone recipe for the Firestone Walker Wookiee Jack, which was part of my recipe. So the major part of my recipe, especially the malts. So it has here also for a 5.5 gallon batch, and has less dark grains than I used. So what I'm going to do is go back into my recipe in Beersmith, if I haven't done so already. I think I did it already. And for batch 2, my batch 2 recipe of this, I'm gonna make these amounts. I might not use their hop schedule per se, but I'll still use the dry English yeast and hope that it comes out, the way I envision it, with a juicier hop character and a little less intense of a malt character. I like the malt character, but it's a little too much, and it overtook the hops even from the beginning. So that's how I'm going to do it differently. And also, I'm not going to use gypsum. And one last thing I should say also is I might actually cold steep the dark grains to even ensure that there really isn't any astringency or off balance flavors in the beer from the dark grains anymore. So, cheers. Yeah. So in the aroma and a little bit in the flavor, there's some hop character, some hop aroma, some hop flavor left. But really I'm getting nice chocolatiness from the beer. And most of the hop flavor is in the head and then in the initial hit to the palate, but then it fades really quickly. But after 3.5 months, you'd expect that. So, then a couple things that I bought recently. Actually 3 things, but I didn't bring some of them with me. So to fill, one thing that I didn't bring to the table here to show you guys is I bought some smaller bungs so I could counter pressure fill my growlers and bottles. I've done growlers just with this growler line thing that I built at Bitter and Nesters, which I may have showed you a couple Homebrew Wednesdays ago. But it, like, even especially with my taller growler, my 32 ouncer, which is like looks like a big bottle with a swing top on it, it foams too much and I lose a lot of carbonation. So with the counter pressure, you just put a racking cane with cut on the angle on the bottom with a bung into your picnic tap, and you fill the bottle that way and just burp the CO2 as you fill it so it doesn't start foaming up like crazy and lose carbonation. So I'm going to do that. Then for my birthday, my younger brother got me a craft beer cookbook, which has 100 recipes to use craft beer with cooking, and I love cooking and I love beer, so I'll try to cook up some of those recipes, in the near future to see, how they come out. Because my one skepticism with cooking with beer is that while it could add complexity to a dish, a lot of times you don't really taste the beer itself once you add all the other ingredients in the recipe. So I might have to, use these recipes as a base and then build on that, so that I could taste the beer. And then lastly, I got these are the grains for my farmhouse, my 3-gallon farmhouse IPA. So it's about 6 pounds, and I ground it twice because I'm going to be doing it brew in the bag, because I really don't want to do 3-gallon batches with my mash tun. It just might work, especially if I throw a blanket over my mash tun, because there's so much less grain here. But I'd rather just do it brew in the bag, meld it twice so I can get good efficiency, And for the grain bill, I mixed, basically a simple American Pale Ale grain bill with a little bit of Belgian, esque points to it by adding a little bit of wheat and a little bit of aromatic malt in there and a little bit of Vienna in there, just to, give it a mixture of the 2 malt profiles together, especially because I'll be using all American hops. So, and so a little bit of Belgian-inspired malt and the Belgian yeast with American hops should all really come together. I don't really, I really like crafting my recipes with a lot of inspiration and, homage to the ingredients that go into all the parts of the beer that inspired, what I envision the beer being in the end, if that makes sense. Hey my fellow homebrewers, Barry here. So it's time to keg my Pilsner, Lions Roar Pilsner, and set it down to lager, my second keg, for 4 to 5 weeks. So I'm doing this vlog style because it's just the easiest way to show you the whole setup. So I had some trouble getting the siphon started with the racking cane, probably because I'm a noob at using a racking cane instead of an auto siphon. So my auto siphon that I do have is still functional, just that part of the end of the racking cane and the auto siphon broke off. So what I have with it now is a rubber band on there to keep it, nice and snug on, and there being from too many bubbles going through. There is bubbles, but I think that's the normal amount of bubbles up there that would go in from the CO2 being released from solution. So, so if you see here the color of the beer, it's actually pretty clear already. So I'm glad that I put the hop bag on there so that it'll be even clearer, but it's very surprisingly, from the cold crashing, it gradually, over a few days, it's very clear already. So I really don't think I'm going to have to end up using any clearing agents because of the current level of clarity that's in there already, and the fact that I'm using the grain bag, as you can already see it on the siphon, filling up my keg. So what I have here in my bottling bucket is a few bottles, just in case I have extra beer in the end, because I have a very full fermenter there. I'll bottle a few and just have it straight instead of, you know, the lager version, which will be, you know, in the keg. So I'll just have that ready. Actually, I have to go grab some carb tabs. I'm not going to prime each bottle. I'll just put, you know, a Northern Brewer carb tab that I have in it and just cap it, and, you know, just see where it is after a couple weeks. So I filled the keg, and it's in here on gas. So what I'm going to do now, the first step is to, you know, get all that, any oxygen that's in the headspace out. So what you do is, with gas on it, and obviously no beer line, is bleed out the headspace a few times. I've already done this, but you just want to, for a few minutes after you fill the keg, you just want to bleed the headspace a little bit, just to seal up the keg. Some people do it at 30 psi, but that, I don't see any reason why you would need to purge it at 30 psi. So as long as you're just putting gas in that headspace, that's what you're trying to do. So what I'm gonna do now to make sure I have a good seal is I'm gonna take my spray bottle of fresh Star San from the Star San I made for sanitizing the keg, and just spray part of the edge of the lid. And as you see here, there's no bubbles coming out of the seal, which means it's a pretty good seal on there. Hey guys, so I ended up bottling 4 bottles, as you see here. It was kind of hard to gauge fill lines because I did it with my auto siphon. So the fill lines on 3 out of 4 bottles are a little low. But again, these are just test bottles, and I think even though they're a little low, they're still going to carbonate. So, and then whatever CO2 is, you know, created by the bottle carboning should make it not taste oxidized from being, you know, half an inch low in the bottle. But overall, it should be fine. So I hope I can edit together this and make it as concise as possible. But whatever you're going to see of that, I'll shoot you back to the conclusion of this week's Homebrew Wednesday. Cheers. So, cheers. Again, congratulations to the top 3/4 of the U.S. for the SJ Porr Challenge. And I look forward to participating in the 2015 challenge. Cheers.